My wife would say to you that I was always overly ambitious and I was going to be, from early days, even when I was a store manager, she'd also say, you're regional manager, divisional. For me, I think getting a main board director for me kind of felt like a pinnacle step in the career. But I always describe it to people as climbing stairs. When you look at stairs, you think, oh, that's a long way up. When you're halfway up, it doesn't look so bad, and the next level seems a bit more achievable.
And if I applied for a job at B&Q, I was first day in the office or first day in one of the stores, I was being handed my orange apron, what would your advice to me be?
I always say, depending on the role, it's either 3 months or 6 months, and say, I'm not expecting you to contribute, I want you to learn it first. Learn the job before you think, we're not looking for you to contribute. And the other thing, if you are going to say things, it's like a cricketing thing. Don't swing for a 6 if you're not 100% sure you're going to hit it. And what I mean by that is, don't make a comment on something that's controversial unless you're 100% sure on your own basis. It's all about the person. Their culture, are they going to fit in? Are they going to be part of the team? Are they going to be a team player? And I always put in a football analogy, we don't have to have a team of superstars, we have a team that plays for the team and, culturally fits as well.
Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Boardroom Uncovered, powered by City AM. My name is John Robinson, City AM's UK editor. My guest for this edition is the CEO of B&Q, Graham Bell. Bell has been in his role since October 2018, having previously led Screwfix, which is also owned by FTSE 100 giant Kingfisher. He's been a member of Kingfisher's leadership team for more than 20 years, and has also held senior roles at the likes of Wickes and Asda. So what's it like to be at the helm of the UK's largest DIY retailer, and what are the CEO's plans for the future? Without any further delay, let's dive in. So, Graham, let's start with the big question. How good at DIY are you actually?
I can tell you how good I think I am. I love doing DIY. I've fitted 3 previous kitchens in our houses and taken holiday off and taken great pride and joy, and there's a great sense of achievement. But at weekends, my wife calls me the make-believe tradesman because I've got one of these belts that I get on and get hammers and drills, and I love doing DIY. There's a sense of satisfaction. There's a real in me. Even if I wasn't in this type of industry, I would be a keen DIYer. I have my limitations. My wife's the one who'll do the detailed, and I'm not a great painter and the wallpaper, but get anything physical, building a fence or doing anything like that, even helping out friends, I love it. So, and I've got lots of tools, as you can imagine, some I haven't even used yet.
Did you teach yourself, or did you get...
Yeah, my father was a very keen, hands-on type of person, kind of got it from him, and just kind of got the bug, and I think I've never had anything taught to me, just learn as you go along.
Yeah.
Don't touch electrical, obviously, a lot of the plumbing, but anything else, I'd be up for giving it a go.
Sounds like fitting 3 kitchens is quite the project.
Yeah, you learn a lot. You learn a lot about your own business as well, especially when you're buying the product and you get into the intricate details of how they go together and all that. So yeah, it's one of those things I've always wanted to do. And the first one's obviously a bit scary and you need a bit of help, but I think as it's gone on, I've learned a lot and become quite adventurous with it.
Do you have a dream project that you still want to achieve?
I think one of the things that I would really, having gotten into it a lot more, is kind of like some of the things like building a bigger structure, like an outside bigger structure, rather than just doing DIY, get into more building something substantial. Maybe it's a retirement job.
Yeah, build your own house maybe, or is that a bit too
far? Oh, that's a bit probably.
Far?
I haven't looked that far yet, but I think these things, they grow with you, because I did a bathroom and a utility room, and then that gave me the confidence to then go and do a kitchen. So I think if you build a structure, you might get the confidence to do something bigger, but wait and see. Yeah.
It sounds like you've had a lot of success and learned a lot, but there must have been a few odd mistakes.
Oh, yeah. I think, well, look, for me, mistakes is, nobody's perfect, but I think the biggest thing is if you can learn from them, and even whether it's doing a DIY project or career or your life, I think if you can take the learnings from them, they're valuable to you.
You must have rinsed the staff discount, though.
I don't think I mean, we do record it and I do spend a lot, but I don't think I'm one of the highest spenders. There's people who have done kind of rebuild projects that have been employed and you think, God, that's a lot of money, but you think it's like redoing a whole house, it's a lot of money.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've been with B&Q obviously for a few years now, but it's a hell of a journey from where you started out.
Yeah.
Tell me about your first job.
So I started out with Asda in the days that it was known as Associated Dairies. It was classed as a bit of a discounter, stock it high and sell it cheap. And in those days, it was great grounding into retail, tough environment, very authoritarian. Didn't really suit my style, but stuck it out, learnt a lot, and gives you great grounding, building up a bit of resilience. Moved on to a company called Texas Home Care, which was a kind of DIY company. It was number 2 at the time, kind of sold up and bought out, and then went to Wix, and then joined Kingfisher, as it was, or B&Q, in the operational side. And, I've done my jobs from store manager all the way up, run my own stores, run my division area. Then went to Screwfix, obviously, chance to do something totally different, and loved that. Became CEO and came back to B&Q.
And over that career journey up to date, what's the biggest thing that you've learnt?
I think the biggest thing I have learnt, there's probably not one, there's 2 or 3 things. One is you've got to know your own strengths and weaknesses. And throughout the years, I think when you're younger and progressing your career, you're a bit foolhardy and thinking you can do everything. And then I think the more mature you get, you understand you're good at some things, but you've got weaknesses. And you need to know your weaknesses, or you're not going to be good at delivering everything. I think you've also learned what type of person you are and what you're willing to do and what not willing to do culturally. And I think for me, specifically in the CEO role, you've got to learn to listen. Doesn't sound difficult, but sometimes even when you know where things is going, you've got to learn to listen and sit back. And then also that thing in listening is creating an environment that people can give their opinions and feel involved. Because sometimes you get some absolute gems that you would never have thought of yourself.
And you've gone from the HR department to the top job. How did you make that leap?
Yeah, it wasn't so much HR. I mean, I did start out in operations and property, and I think when I was doing that in B&Q, I was keen to progress my career, and at the time, the CEO and the HR director said, well, why don't you do something different and move down south? I was always classed as a people person. At that time, B&Q didn't really have a lot of training, and I was tasked with, it was twofold, training the staff and service and skills and that, but also doing a bit of development and team bonding with the senior team. The staff training was great. The team bonding with your peers, which never been done before, was an absolute nightmare for me, because obviously I was working with the people that were my peers and trying to educate them and develop them. Was quite a challenge, but I loved it, and it really hit home, because I think that's my strengths, is working with people, understanding people and getting the best out of them, and it really did hone a lot of my strengths for me.
And was reaching the top job always the aim? Did you set out on your career thinking that that's a realistic aim for you? Yeah.
My wife would say to you that I was always overly ambitious, and I was going to be, super, from early days, even when I was a store manager, she'd also say, oh, you're regional manager, division. For me, I think getting a main board director for me kind of felt like a pinnacle step in the career. But I always describe it to people as climbing stairs. When you look at stairs, you think, oh, that's a long way up. When you're halfway up, it doesn't look so bad, and the next level seems a bit more achievable. Even when you turn the corner in the landing where you would never have been before, you think, no, I could do that. So I think for me, becoming a CEO, it's absolutely fantastic getting the role, and there's a great pride, and you feel really privileged, because it does feel like it's the next step, and comes with a lot of responsibility as well.
How do you manage that responsibility?
Well, I think for me, my responsibility, I've obviously got a responsibility. I always see it as threefold. You've got a responsibility to shareholders to do a job in it, and then for me, I always swing next. And once you've done that bit and you feel you've done it, you've got a responsibility to your staff and the people that's employed in your business. And throughout my career, and even more so now, I always said, look, part of my job is to run this business responsibly, because you go out into stores or even in an office and that, and you realise that you're not just responsible for careers and money, but it's that whole family sometimes depends on that job. So there's a lot of people dependent on you, and I think you feel that pressure sometimes that, you know, you got to run the responsibility, because it's not just about the business, but it's people's livelihoods, their well-being, and, you know, with people that have been in this business 50 years, it's like a big part of their life. And then the other thing is, I always think if you can do that and look after your people, it's great if you can put something back into your community. And, you know, we do a lot of fundraising for that as well, for our local communities. But being part of the community you're represented in as well feels, for me, it's like a business that's got longevity as well.
Because it's a lot to put on one person's shoulders, isn't it?
Yeah.
That responsibility. You've got thousands of staff. You've got people, as you said, with B&Q for decades.
Yeah.
And you've got to look after them. But you've got to make those difficult decisions as well, where you've got to let people go sometimes. There's a lot to take on.
Try not to let people go. And it's a big thing for me, because you get people, if they're committed to the job, we always think, how can we, I think our first instinct is, how can we make this person successful and play to their strengths? It might not always be the job they've come into, but even in our stores and our offices, we've got such a varied amount of jobs. You can see a lot of potential in people. So we always have a thing and think everybody's got skills and strengths, and if we can get them to fit in our business, that'll be our first port of call. But yeah, there is a bit of responsibility, but I think I take solace from the fact, and, you know, I've always approached all of my jobs is about getting my team right. So like my immediate directors and director of, it's about getting that diversity, the male, female, different ethnic backgrounds, but getting a team that can work together really helps you deliver. And I've always been a person that's looked at people, much to the annoyance of our recruitment team, of 25% is on their technical skills. So if they're IT, it's IT, and 25 in management capability. Can you manage? Can you time out? You delegate? But the biggest part of me, I assume someone's done that job for me. Before they come to me, it's all about the person. Their culture, are they going to fit in? Are they going to be part of the team? Are they going to be a team player? And I always put in a football analogy, we don't have to have a team of superstars. We need to have a team that plays for the team and, you know, culturally fits as well.
So if you're sitting across somebody and they've come for an interview with you, you're the last stage.
Yes.
What are you looking in that person that's going to tip them over the line?
Yeah, for me, it's getting that rapport with the person. And the first thing I always do, and they're always primed, and I realise it's a bit nervous sometimes, is, you know, if it was you, John, I'd say, well, John, tell me about John at the weekends and social things and hobbies and all that, and family life, or, you know, what's life at home and all that. And I think normally if you can get people to talk about their hobbies or their interests in that, they really relax, because it's something they know a lot about, they're passionate about, and you get them to relax a bit. For me, and that's part of my job, is really getting to know the real person. Because a lot of people come primed with, I've done this, I've done that, I've done that, and I just want to really know who they are and what makes them tick.
Well, let's talk about Graham at the weekend then.
All right.
What do you do?
I'm mad on sports. My wife has a saying that she said I would watch two flies crawling up a wall in the name of sport. But I played a lot of football in my day, badminton, golf, did a little bit of rugby, would do lots of things. And, you know, Olympics drives my wife mad. I can come home and just be in the middle of anything and sit and watch the Olympics or Sky Sports. Gets really annoyed if I'm watching one of the old FA Cup finals or something. Sport for me is a big thing, and I'd go and watch a lot of sport. Keen on doing some sport myself. I've got 4 daughters and 3 grandchildren, so there's a lot of activity with families, socialising with friends, bit of DIYing and things like that. So it's never a time where I think I don't have something to do. It's always choices in what you do. So, and for me, I'm a very social person as well. So
that must help you wind down then, because I imagine your job is quite all-encompassing. You know, it's got all-consuming.
Yeah.
Monday to Friday, or even over the weekends as well.
Yeah. And I think for me, I see it as one of my strengths. Might even be classed as a weakness by some others, that I can come home. By the time I'm home, I get so engrossed, and even if someone's watching a film or something, I don't come home thinking about work a lot. I can get engrossed in that, and especially if it's a sport, and I can switch off, but then quickly switch on, because if something urgent does come up and you get a call, you can switch into it quite quickly. And I think, one, you've not got to take it too seriously, because because I think it is work and life. You can never really, when you get this position, they're very much, and I see it as all my team, you can't separate the two. You know, if someone comes into work and they've had something disastrous happen at home, you're better sorted that out. You're not best at doing your work that day when you're thinking of other things. So for me, that work-life balance is really important.
Do you think you've got it right?
Yeah, I do. I do. Yeah, my wife might think different, but you know, I do. I think I've got it. And over the years, I think in my early days, it was, you know, not uncommon to work 7 days a week and all the hours. And the way now is, I think, you know, society has got it a lot better, and that work-life balance is probably more of a thing in society now than it ever was before. You
mentioned earlier about having pride in your job.
Yes.
But what does the title of CEO mean to you?
For me, there's a lot of pride in it because I feel very lucky and honoured that I've got the role, because I think for me, B&Q, early doors and now, I always see it as a top 10 UK brand. And becoming the CEO of such a big company, you know, sometimes you pinch yourself and say, bloody hell, I've got it. But that pride, but then that responsibility is the big thing. But also, there's a huge excitement and variety of being able to shape something. And, you know, we are shaping B&Q of being a DIY shed, traditional bricks, but moving it forward into a business that's going to have longevity, going to be around for the next 30, 40, 50 years. Part of my job is a legacy of putting the foundations in it. That business can change and be something that's relevant now, but also for the future as well.
Do you see yourself as a custodian of the legacy of B&Q?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, in every CEO has a tenure or whatever, they see a bit of that. But I am very passionate, and it'd be a wish of mine that people would talk fondly of this team at this era, and B&Q were fundamental and doing a good job, proud of what they did, worked hard, did it in the right way, and did a good job of building and making a lot of the right decisions for the future.
Do you care about your particular legacy, you personally, or are you more focused on the company as a whole?
You know, it'd be disingenuous for me to say that I didn't care how people saw me. I do want people to see me as someone who worked hard, did a good job, and did it in the right way. But I'd rather have it as a kind of halo effect of that time, that B&Q was regarded as a team of people at that time that ran a good business, did well, and led from the front and did all the right things and changing the business and really looked after their people and did a good job. So I think that halo effect, but of course I'd like a little bit to rub off for me.
And obviously you're doing your dream job right now, but if you weren't doing this, what would be your dream job?
I'd probably want to do something in sport.
Okay.
And I see sport, I always see that sport of it. You see sporting people, but you see the management of the coaches. I think my strength is managing people and motivating them, doing it. And I see that as very transferable into some of the sports today. And because I'd be very passionate in sport, I think that's what I'd want to be.
Any particular job in sports?
You know this, probably rugby. I played a lot of football in my days, but I've gotten into it, and I like that kind of motivational side in rugby, and having been to British Lions games and seen some of those videos of the speeches by the team captains and all that before, I think I'd enjoy that.
Yeah. Do you see yourself as a player or more of a
coach? Coach now, my tender years, definitely a coach.
And how would you describe your leadership style? Is it something that's evolved over your career?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely evolved, because I think as you progress your career, you can develop your own career a lot more, whereas if you're reporting into a reporting line, they kind of dictate the culture. So for me, I see myself as a very collaborative person. I know I don't have the answers for everything. So I know that I've got to be collaborative and play to the strengths of other people that can really help me make the right decisions. But I know that even in myself now, everybody gets to the point where your reference points are outdated. And, you know, my reference points are when I was younger and what times there. But I see it through someone who's a lot older. And you can talk to someone now who's a lot younger, and their reference points feel a bit dramatic sometimes. But you say, well, that's the reality, and I don't see it. So I think you need to be very collaborative, and I think you need to create an environment that allows people the space, the energy, and the safety to challenge you and so you get the right decision. Because I think if you get tunnel visioned in your own view, you can miss a lot. Some people can do a lot of the right decisions, but I don't think you can do it all the time. And for me, it gives me comfort, but also I think it helps me make better decisions.
Like in sport, in business, there are a few egos at the top of the tree.
Yeah.
How do you manage that?
Yeah, I think you will always get egos and people want to do things. I think for me it is really highlighting to that person that that's their biggest trait. And I think if they've got a big ego, it's normally driven by recognition or career enhancement. And I think if you can convince them that the best way to advance your career is to dampen down on that and do these other things, if it's just about recognition, you can give them a bit of recognition, but you can also tailor it to say, you've got to see this as a weakness in yourself if you want too much. Because their own ego takes over then and says, oh, I'm not good at that, I need to temper it down.
Yeah. What motivates you day to day? What gets you out of bed and keeps you doing this job?
Yeah. I suppose there is a bit of my own ego that says we're doing the right things, we're growing in development, so you get a lot of satisfaction of whether it's winning or gaining or growing the business or having success. I definitely get a kick out of that. I definitely get a kick out of seeing people develop, getting them promoted, and you know, it's probably the most satisfying part of the job of seeing someone. I've had a young gentleman that I took on board, and you know, we developed him, and he's now a CEO of one of the businesses in Kingfisher, and you know, it made me feel great as he enjoyed it, but secretly I felt really good about it. And there's people in various businesses that I've been in before, and I've taken a risk on them and developed, you know, one of the people that took risk in Screwfix is now the operations director when they were in logistics previously. So things like that. But you have that opportunity to make those decisions and take these risks. So that's exciting. I think the job's got lots of variety as well. You know, I'm in IT, logistics, you're talking about physical stores, you're talking about marketplace, you're talking about society, you're talking about your people. So every day you get variety. I get up in the morning and there's always something I end up doing that I probably didn't know about when I woke up that morning. And I'm very fortunate I get to see all aspects of the business and things outside as well. So it's very fulfilling and it's very satisfying. Of course it's hard work, but I enjoy it.
Yeah. Looking back over your career, is there a particular success that leaps out to you that sticks in the mind?
Yeah, I think for me, and it's during the pandemic, and it says, it kind of seems weird sometimes me saying that because it was a really tough time for people and it was a harrowing thing and that pandemic wasn't pleasant. But for me, the success that came out of that is how we conducted ourselves and how we came out of that in the pandemic. And it's probably the one time where because I always used to say to people, look, it's business, people's lives are not at risk, but they were at that time. And, you know, whatever, if the pressure was 1 out of 10, it became 10 out of 10. And we were classed as an essential trader, so we were allowed to stay open, which we were very fortunate of. But we took a decision to close our stores. And that was really based on feedback from our customers, feedback from potentially the biggest thing was talking to our staff and getting close to them. And they felt unsafe. And so for me, it was a big risk. You know, it could have been putting my job at risk, but I saw it as the people come first, and then we regrouped and we rebuilt. And for me, I feel essentially proud myself, but it wasn't just me, it was a whole team making that decision and coming out of that. You know, it's like a bit of a phoenix type thing, how we came out of that and accelerated out of that on things like that click and collect, the home deliveries from our hub stores that do home deliveries in the areas. Things that we'd planned for 3 years, we did them in months. And a team that really, I think we did the right thing, took the hard decisions. I think everybody was supportive. And I'd probably say it's one of those times where you could say you never get a team going 100% in the same direction, 100%. But I think at that time we really achieved it. And I don't think you could recreate it because a lot of it was forced on you. But we try and get elements of that, you know, the speed, the efficiency. You want some of them again. So for me, I was really proud, and how we conducted ourselves throughout all those stages, how we communicated with the staff, how we treated our customers. And for me, I think, I was really proud that we were held up as a beacon of retail and set some of the standards. So, yeah, immensely proud of that time.
And on the flip side, not every career is a straight line upwards. There must be a few mistakes that you've made during your career as well.
Yeah, I think in those early days, in Asda, it wasn't the culture for me, and it was hard. And I probably stayed there too long because I think in the 80s it was round about, you had a job, you had a mortgage. The mortgage rate was, I tell my kids, it was nearly 14%. They look at me as saying, 14%? And I think in those times, there were more necessities, and I think I stayed there too long, and it wasn't the right thing for me. It wasn't progressing my career. And I think throughout things, you sometimes make mistakes, and I think so long as you learn from them, and I think you're never not going to make mistakes, and you make career moves. And sometimes, I think when you're younger, you're very ambitious, and you impose things on your family, whereas you got to balance it as you get later in life with your family, your work-life balance. So for me, I haven't really got any great regrets, because I always believe you make the decision that's right for you at the time. And you always think it's a big mistake, because when you look back from where you are now. But yeah, that was the only real big career mistake that I think I made. I think I've been fortunate. A lot of people would say you're fortunate in your career, but I think you make your own career.
And is there something in particular that you still want to achieve in your career?
Yeah, I have achieved a lot. I think for me is you can run a business and you can do a lot of things inside that business. And I think for me it's about doing something. I've been involved, we've had the issues of crime escalation in retail, and I was very supportive of the British Retail Consortium, lobbying the government, and we were successful in getting that change. And I think now I've probably got the credibility. I would do something, want to in the future do something that was probably for the whole of retail or for the whole of that thing, rather than just the business.
Looking back over your career again, is there a particular bit of advice that you've been given that has stuck with you?
Yeah, I think there's two big pieces of advice that I'd say is, one was early in my career, was that about listening. But then it's become even more apparent as I go on. And then the second thing was, I was having a career discussion with my boss at the time, and then with HR. And I think the reality was, it kind of hit home for me. If you've not got your own career and your own development on your agenda, I kind of felt like, well, what are you going to do? How are you going to promote? How are you going to get on? And it really hit me home. And they said, well, wait a minute, this is your career. It's 99% important to you. It's 10% important to us at this time, because we've got a lot of other people we're looking at. And it really hit home to me as, don't be a victim. Don't look back and say, oh, my God, they got promoted before me. I think I'm just as good, or all that. I think if you get into that realm, you've got to really push your own career, but in the right way, but be accountable for it and not hold other people accountable. So I think that was one of my biggest learnings, is that don't look for others to do it if you're not willing to really push it and get on there. You've got to do a lot of it yourself, and you've got to have your own accountability for it. I think, as I've said before, no one can force you to be happy, no one can force you to be sad. You're in control of that. You feel motivated, then you're in control of that. You know the things that motivate you, so you work hard to get into the environments that motivate, and you can really do. That's up to you. Don't sit back and say, waiting for someone else to do it.
And if you could go back in time and talk to your younger self the day before you started your first job, what would you say?
There's definitely something about me that would say, the socialising, the friends, the sports and all that. I think in my early days I would have said, you can never turn back the clock, but I think you need to take things a bit more seriously, and I think you got to work out the balance in that, because I think in my early years, it's that, as every youngster does, they want to enjoy life, and I think that's a big priority where your career isn't. And I think if you could get more of a balance, I would have said to myself, Graham, if you even toned it down by 10%, you'd have been further on, or you'd be happier in life now, because I think you can get into this realms of, you're young and you're free, but you just want to live life, but you don't really have a plan for things. You just take every day. I used to take every week as it came, never looked much further than that. And I think if I could say to myself, I'd go back, and a bit about you're not good at everything. Learn that you need help and you need development. You don't arrive in a business as the super duper manager that knows everything.
And if I applied for a job at B&Q, I was first day in the office or first day in one of the stores, I was being handed my orange apron, what would your advice to me be?
Yeah, my advice, and I do give this advice to everyone. I say, come into this business, you're new in, be humble, and tell people you're being humble because you need to learn the job, you need to learn from them, you need to understand it. And I always say, depending on the role, I mean, it's either 3 months or 6 months, and say, I'm not expecting you to contribute, I want you to learn it first. Learn the job before you think, we're not looking for you to contribute. And the other thing, if you are going to say things, it's like a cricketing thing. Don't swing for a 6 if you're not 100% sure you're going to hit it. And what I mean by that is, don't make a comment on something that's controversial unless you're 100% sure on your own basis. And I think whether you're new into a business or coming from another business, it's always the biggest thing that sometimes people form their own business, own opinions on businesses from where they've come. I've done it myself. But until you've stood in the shoes and experienced the environment, you think, oh, it was easy to do in that business. It's maybe not so easy to do in this business.
And if I'm 20, 21, 22, starting on the shop floor at a B&Q store, is there a genuine path within the organisation to get to your role?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the things, I think retail's fantastic for this. I mean, I'm in retail and you'd expect me to say it. But you can come into retail and, you know, I've said to youngsters, whether it's accounting, marketing, tech, logistics, we cover all bases nearly, you know, PR, you know, everything. And I think there's an element, you can come in here and find your strengths so you can play to them. And it's an environment where it's not length of time, exam. Of course, you need to get skills and all that. And I think it's an environment that allows you to play to your strengths and find the right job for you. But also, we can help you. We have apprenticeships now, go all the way up and get you to, you know, a degree level. But also we've got people in our business that's worked in stores and worked their way up to director of level. And there is a path all the way to the top. And, you know, we would encourage it.
And talk to me about the culture at B&Q. Has that changed since you took on current role?
I would say when I first joined B&Q, it was one of those characteristics of B&Q that they kind of grab hold of you and it grows into you without you knowing. It's that family spirit. And one of the things that I was involved in as a project when I got into that training was that can-do spirit was our kind of strapline of you can do it, which was really encouraging our customers to DIY, but it really became that in-house as well, that we can do it, and we can do it. And I think that family spirit of, I mean, that's why we've got people working 40, 50 years for us, is you do become a family, and we get a lot of people who are really dedicated to this business. And, you know, there's always a story that really humbles me. And during the pandemic, when we announced we were going to open the store, I met a lady in a Nottingham store who was speaking to me, and she just wanted to talk to me and say her husband had a bit of an illness which made him quite vulnerable to the pandemic. She said, you know, but I still want to work because I feel as if I want to be part of the team and my loyalty and all that. And then she did end up working, not that we forced her, we were quite happy to furlough her, but she just told me the story. It was such a strong bond that she felt equally, and I'm not saying everyone's like this, but it was really humbling for her to say, I want to work, I want to be part of it, even though she knew she was taking a slight risk, her husband. And it really did humble me and say, God, her dedication and concentrating that B&Q family spirit was greater than mine at that time. And we've got a lot of people that got, so I think it's a culture, and we try and, you know, everyone's welcome in B&Q, you know, gender, you know, ethnic background, doesn't matter. Everyone's welcome in B&Q. Everyone's got a place, and if we can make you fit in. But it's a culture where you can be yourself, because there's all that different types of people, and they're all different. And it's a culture where you come in and you're part of a family. We take you in, we try and make the best of you if you want to. If you just want a job, then that's fine as well. To earn money, that's fine as well. But it's a culture that does become a bit of a family and a belonging culture, and we try and as hard as we can to make it that open culture where people can be who they are, talk about what they are, we encourage them. You're all part of the solutions in this business. And we want it a place where you come to work, but you want to come to work because it's an enjoyable place to work and you feel you can contribute and be proud in what you do. So not everybody wants to come to work every day. If we didn't need money, we wouldn't do it. But what's better if you can come and enjoy yourself?
It's interesting that you use the word family.
Yes.
Because a lot of people would see that as a red flag for a company, because they would consider a business as a business. We're here to further our careers, but our family is our family at home. It's not at work. But you said that with all sincerity, that you really believe that is fundamental to B&Q's culture. Yeah,
I think I said earlier, you can't separate the two. You know, I'm putting words in your mouth, but maybe even more. If something drastic happens at home with that, and I come into work, I've got it on my mind and all. So I don't think you can separate the two. And then what I think is people work well when their family's happy and their well-being's happy, mental health and all that. So I think that whole family thing supports that. And I think it gives us credibility because we are a business, but, you know, people are in this world to live and enjoy life, and family's such a big part of it. I think if you try and disconnect the two, you lead people that probably, I'm not saying everyone, but they don't have the same moral and cultural judgments as they do if they see it as, I want to be treated how my family would be treated, or I want you to respect my family, my beliefs. I think that gives you people far more representation in a business that will understand what its local community is and represent the environment that it's trading in. So for me, and I just see it's such an important thing, we get a lot of benefit from it.
Is there such thing in your job as a typical day?
Probably not, but I think a Monday's always a busy day where you're in early, we get all the reports for the previous week, we have our board meeting, we have sales meeting, we're making decisions on some short-term decisions on things that we might, promotions or stock issues or something that's happened, and then you've got kind of longer-term strategy bits. So Monday's a kind of busy day in the office meeting. Monday, Tuesday, pretty similar days like that, and then you know there's no day that's exactly the same because there's always something in there that might be a bit different. But that's kind of like a typical day. But I'd like to have that. A typical week would be half in the office, half meeting, and then time out in stores, meeting or external things, whether it's suppliers or looking at new sites for a store or something like that.
And looking at sales figures, obviously, the finances have been improving this year. But is there a particular product section that has been particularly well performing this year?
Yeah, it's quite difficult to put it in. All our PR people that probably hate me saying this, but
go on, please.
I know, because B&Q could be seen like a big department store, because the demise of the department store, but we're not trading in one aspect. We do gardening, so we're in garden centres. We do the trade, so we're up against the trade. We're paint, we're kitchens and bathrooms, we're electrical. We're in a lot of these big categories, which are kind of standalone businesses. So there's elements of our business that, you could say, what's the gardening product? So in season, it's plants, or it's garden power, it's kitchen season, it's kitchens and bathrooms. So I think for me, there's lots of products, but we're generally we do a lot of building trade materials, plasterboard, timber, and all that. We do a lot of paint. We're huge in paint, and I think for us, there's kind of pockets of categories where I'd say we're market leading and we're number one. There's others we're not, but so there's lots of products we sell a lot of, and I think one of the things we've done recently is, with the introduction of our marketplace, has allowed us to diversify into a lot of other categories. And kind of my vision for the business is that for B&Q to be relevant in the future, we want people to regard B&Q as the thing that's going to help them live their life as a family. So therefore, anything that you do or decisions you make in the home, we want to be the number one thought. And if we want to do that, we've got to provide services, products that envisage all of those discussions. So that may be, we sell a lot of kids' furniture now online, small appliances. We're looking at going into, products for the garden and really allowing us to extend that range. So I think for me, that product vitality of new, but also if you can think first, I like to think in the future, click. If I'm doing anything in the home, I think B&Q or DIY.com, and we'd be able to service that. Is really a vision that we have at the moment.
Yeah, and you said that B&Q, you're obviously in several different sectors.
Yeah.
But is there one particular sector that you're forecasting to do really well next year? Is paint the next big thing for 2025, or is it gardening?
I think for me it would probably be that it's not one big sector, it's more a channel. And I think we see the trade side and the e-commerce side being the two channels, as we call them, where we take the money in. And they're the big areas we're putting a lot of energy behind, along with kitchens and bathrooms. We've spent a lot of money in redoing our whole range in bathrooms as styles. I don't know if you've read recently, but there's a lot of noise about younger people bringing back avocado and peach colours. You know, for me, it was something that was there in the 80s for me, and I used to sell it. But, you know, these are the sort of things where I think you got to change, and, you know, change is there all the time. So for me, trade will be a big channel for us, kitchens and baths will be big, and also that kind of online growth of how people want to shop and how they want the products delivered to them.
I'm wondering if B&Q sees a spike in its sales whenever the new season of Grand Designs airs. Can you see that in your figures?
Not so much a program like Grand Designs, because it's normally from ground up. We do see in a lot of these DIY shows, particular things, and if I can just give you two or three, there's a lot of programs on the changing your walls and putting the decking or the studding on the wall, or there's a big craze now where it's very popular been on YouTube and Instagram with the acoustic paneling with the strips and all that. So we do see huge surges in that. Then we sometimes see surges on when you see people doing a bit of gardening projects and they put it online. I think customers follow paving, lighting. So you can see these trends. But they're normally peripheral things. I think the base core business is pretty static because it's out there. But you do see spikes.
How does B&Q stay competitive on price? Because critics would say that the products aren't high enough quality and the prices are too high. What would you say to those critics?
I'd say they're wrong. You would expect it. But look,
I'd expect that.
I think quality, I mean, we've always got a variation of good, better, best in our stores. You know, someone might want to come in just saying, I need to be the cheapest. I'm using this, this drill once. We even have tradesmen that saying, I'm using this product once. I don't care if it does the job. I'm going to throw it away after it. Or they might want a product they're going to spend a lot of money in and I'm going to use it for a lifetime. So you've got to have that good, better, best to cater for all the needs. We always pride ourselves in giving value for money. So even if that product is a good, it'll be good value for money in the market. We compare our prices on thousands of prices with all our competitors. And online now, I mean, that gives you the ability, in my youth, when I worked for Asda, you used to spend nearly half a day writing down the prices of your competitors and going back to the office with them. Whereas now you can do it from online and check it. So it's very easy to stay competitive. And for us, I mean, during the pandemic and then coming into the economic crisis, we've had a real focus in that we've got to offer value for money. And, if we get price increases because the oil goes up, we try with our suppliers to mitigate and not pass anything on to our customers because the customers want to see you as being competitive. Tradesmen want to see you as being, and they're the first to tell you, and they tell you with their feet, so they're not buying. But also, you've got to have a level of quality. You can't kid the customers because you build up a reputation and quality, price, safety, value. You take years to build it. You could lose it very easily. So for me, we always have different levels of quality, but we always strive to have that good, better, best. And our best is up there with everyone, and our good we'd like to think better than everyone else's. And we want to be competitive in the economic climate. We launched a thing called Prices Are Nailed, and we've kept thousands of prices down and not put them up, and worked hard with our suppliers not to pass on price increases and done things so that we can keep our prices as low as possible and be competitive.
And obviously B&Q, like so many other retail businesses, has been facing a lot of challenges over the last year, 18 months, rising energy costs, inflation, supply chain issues. What are the major issues that B&Q is facing at the moment?
We used to talk as a team and the pandemic, and once that's over, it'll be so much easier, we won't have these supply issues. And then it was the Ukraine-Russia war, and oh my God, that was, lots more supply chain. Then it was the Suez Canal. issues with the Red Sea and all that. And it's kind of like the new norm where, and I think what it's made us do is it's kind of secured our business, and we've diversified and said rather than have one or two suppliers that supply all our paint, and we've maybe got 3 or 4. So if one supplier becomes a problem, you've not got a problem. And I think, so supply, I don't know if it's going to get easier or if it's going to get worse, but it's just something you need to concentrate on and be up there and be aware of all the time. So for me, we've not got any major problems with it. Don't get me wrong, we get problems every week, but we find ways around them, or we've got alternative products or alternative supplies. So it's a way of life now for everything. And I think that I'm not affair with all sectors of the retail market, but I think everyone's in the same boat. And they've developed ways of managing that as the new norm. I think on the economic climate and energy, I mean, we've got a huge opportunity in our sector of the business because the home is what we represent. And what we've really focused on is that, as people may say, I want to do something for the environment, I think what we have seen is people spend money on reducing their utility bills cost, whether it's electricity, gas, heating, water. And primarily they're looking to save money, but, you know, subsequent side issue of that is you get environmental benefits. It's an unintended consequence. So, and we've worked hard to keep prices of loft insulation, double glazing, and the threshold bars, sealing around your windows. We've done deals with solar energy partners and solar heat pumps and all that, really to help customers. And we developed a thing called the energy survey, home energy survey, and we did that through the government body that looks after housing there. You could come into our store, book a survey, and they have the data to what's your postcode. They'll tell you what your house is. You fill in a questionnaire, and it'll give you a shopping list how you can make your house more efficient. Ideally, we'd want you to come and spend that money with us, but it's no incumbent, and you get a shopping list of how much it should cost and what the benefit is. So it allows people that list done in a trustworthy way, we feel, because the brand's got trustness in it. And we're trying to help customers in that as well. But we see a huge opportunity that there's going to be a lot of money spent in energy saving, and it's a market we spend a lot on. Ideally, I would like the government, as they do with this thing, and the biggest thing is they've tried to do it in previous schemes. The bureaucracy has always meant it's never really gotten to the households, or they've never spent as much as they'd want to. And I think for me, just trying to make that simpler and easier for customers to get on board doing these things will make a huge difference in the future.
And lastly, what's the future of B&Q look like?
Very worried now this is going to go out in a video. Someone's going, and for me, this is kind of like we've said we've got a strategy and a future vision. I've kind of got this vision, and it is a vision, and some people may pick up with the future, or you never did this, that, but it is a vision. It's a North Star. I've got a vision in the future. I said, we'd like to have like a portal that you have for your house. So you've got your house and it's 91 such and such road. You have on there, if you imagine you had the store plans of the house, all the electrical wiring plans, the plumbing. So if anyone's doing a job, you've got it, the structures. You've got mood boards of things you want to do with your kitchen in the future. You've got garden projects. You've got the serial numbers and the warranties of all your appliances on there. It's kind of like a passport, or a kind of, it's like a manual for your house, but also a manual that allows you to manage and run that property, but also to the fact that you can go on there and in the future, you can buy all the products for your house. And I've said every week, as people spend money and make decisions about the house, I want B&Q to be part of that decision, whether it's house insurance, services, older people maybe not just older people, younger people wanting subscription services that I get my guttering and that cleaned every year. You want house insurance. You may even somebody want to do mortgages. I think we've got great trust in the brand, and that allows people to convey with that. And whether you want fitted services for anything that you do, or whether you just want to buy the product, right? So for me, anything you do in the house is fair game for us in the future, and that's why we started with the marketplace and some of the services. That's my vision for the future, that, if you're running your home, the easiest way is to do it with a B&Q portal, passport, whatever you want to do, or just online and use B&Q to help you. You know, some people say, I say it flippantly, I don't, but not just manage your home, but live your life, because I think living your life at home is so important. You get that well-being and satisfaction, and if you can get all that working as best it can, I think it will help you live your life more satisfactory.
Brilliant. Graham Bell, thank you very much for coming on Boardroom Uncovered.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Great. Thank you very much.